Would you like to continue your story and tell us what happened? I guess kind of after your inspiration on Rana Plaza and where that led you to.
Yeah, so I get a bit rambly with my story because it is rambly, and I'm like, oh my gosh, am I talking too much about all of these windy things? But honestly, it was such a windy path. So that there was that inspiration. Like I said, I got really involved with this local nonprofit called Fashion Takes Action in Toronto, and they were doing amazing work around, promoting social and environmental responsibility in the apparel industry. And started volunteering with them. I started teaching, actually. They would do a wonderful in-school program that teaches kids in grades 4 to 12 about conscious consumerism, so with the intention of, them becoming conscious before they are actually consumers, which was really neat. And then I attended this conference where you spoke at, Amy, and it was so inspiring, and just being in a room full of people that were like thinking the same thing. It was just like such a great push. And I chatted with you after, and then I looked at companies that were doing amazing work in the sustainability space. And of course, Eileen Fisher came right up at the top. And I was like, I want to work for Eileen Fisher. This is what I want to do. I want to figure out how to work there. But there was no Canadian offices at all, no corporate presence. There was a couple stores, but nothing corporate. And so I literally started, this is the funny part of the story, and it's all true. I started stalking the Eileen Fisher website, the job section, every single day. I would check in and be like, what are they looking for? And maybe I can go back to school in the States and, get a student visa and get an internship and work in sustainability at Eileen Fisher. There was this whole thing, and I just kept looking. And then honestly, one day after a month of this, a Toronto office posting popped up. And so it turned out that Eileen Fisher was opening a showroom in Toronto to basically manage the distribution of the brand in Canada. And I applied to the most junior role. And I remember I wrote an extensive cover letter trying to explain my passion and what the path I had been on, even though I had no wholesale experience. And I just wanted to work and be a part of the sustainability thing the company was doing. And kudos to Eileen Fisher. I went through a very long interview process, which Amy told me was actually very short relative to the usual. But it was 3 months with many, many interviews. And thankfully I got the position. But it was so what Siena said earlier, it was took the most junior position at the office. There was 3 of us. And I was a sales assistant. And so it was on the sales side of things. But to what Siena said earlier, I really, from day one, because of this passion for sustainability, I kept trying to pull that into my role. And I did that throughout my time there. That involved me emailing Amy a lot also and being like, hey, Amy, can I do this, please? So thankfully, I had such a supportive, obviously, Eileen Fisher community around that, and Amy. So that was that role, and that I did that for about 4.5 years. And sadly, Eileen Fisher closed their Canadian office a few months after the COVID pandemic started. And the latest thing is that I sort of pivoted and pulled back on my apparel, my fashion design background, and my interest in sustainability. And somehow in this wonderful thing, all these things came together. And I started a mask making company. So I have been making called Considerate Goods. Amy wants me to plug myself. But yeah, no, it's called Considerate Goods. And I don't know, I wanted to feel, part of it was honestly getting back to some of the root of my passion and trying to figure out how to be useful in this moment where everything was kind of falling apart. Yeah, so that's kind of what I've been doing. I've just been learning and growing through this now entrepreneurship experience and trying to make it as impactful, trying to embed as much impact and sustainable practices as I can in this little micro company that I'm now running, right? As opposed to previously, I feel like I was pushing this sort of intrapreneurship from my role here. So it's been a cool evolution.
I think this is so exciting.